All right, what's going on, everybody? We're going in with another episode of Blind Lined here, coming back for the second week. I'm going to label this the first episode. I feel like I was working on a lot of things last week for the beta episode. So, trying to hone in on a couple things, trying to get my mic right, trying to learn how to talk to myself a lot better, trying not to say as much. So, I got a couple things I'm working on. But we're going to go ahead and get started and jump into this just to go over the overall concept of the podcast. It's to stay off social media all week, stay off the lines all week. Pretty much all I'm doing is reviewing fights throughout the entire week, going over the necessary tape if needed, and then hopping on here immediately after when I'm done looking at everything and then checking out the lines with you guys for the first time. It's meant to be a live stream, but I think just for viewership, it makes a lot more sense to kind of do this the day before and then post it sometime on Friday after weigh-ins and then lock in bets on fight day on the Twitter page. So that's most likely what I'll do. If you weren't here last week, pretty much what I do, I just go fight by fight, review each fighter, and then go ahead and show you my line. I'm not show you my confidence level on each line as well. These are very, I don't know how to describe it, but some of them I'm just like a lot more confident in than the others. And I do have like a confidence scale that I'll share with you as well. So pretty much we just go fight by fight on the card. I give you the line and then we go check out the lines together. So that's the overall concept. We have how many fights? I think like 12 or 13 fights this week. Yeah, 13. We are up in Canada. We're at in Canada, Winnipeg. Forgot exactly where Winnipeg is in Canada. I don't think it's out west. It might be more towards like central Canada. I can't remember if it's like more towards Vancouver or Toronto. But regardless, as a result, we got a lot of Canadians on the card. A couple fights where it's just kind of neutral matchups, like American, Brazilian, back to back right there. And outside of that, yeah, we got a lot of Canadians. It seems like it's a lot of American, Brazilian. If we don't have a Canadian matchup, we got American, Russian there in that one. So, actually, going to start with a recap of last week. Not the best week, not the best 2 weeks for me. As you see, that fight night before that, I got reverse swept. That always stings. I haven't had one of those in over like 2 years. So we buried that game ball, moved on, but it did not get any better. We did win 2 bets last week out of, I don't feel like counting right now, but let's just go over how the fights, how the bets went and kind of just recap a couple of these fights. See if we can learn something and take into this week. Let's go in order of the fights of how they played out. I believe this Kevin Gastelum fight was first. Bet fight goes the distance at even money, which was kind of um, a trap, I guess you could say. It was a Kevin Gastelum fight. I think everyone was kind of looking at Luque to be the one to kind of fall in that fight. But of course, Gastelum, the first uppercut he ate, he fell. And down went our bet. He got put in a sub right after that. Kevin Gastelum's chin didn't hold up for us, which is the one thing I was banking on for this bet to cash. So that crashed and burned. That was a rough start. Next up was the Suarez over 1.5 rounds. Got that at plus money, which was, I thought, a decent bet. I think on bet 365, the Suarez by decision was like around like plus 105. It was on plus 130 on other books. But to get her plus over 1.5, I felt like was a good bet at even money. And we fell 1 second short, which was one of the, when you combine last week's results with the Kevin Gastelum thing and then this, I'm pretty much feeling defeated. Like if something can go wrong, it will. And falling 1 second short of that cashing was, yeah, it killed my confidence. It was a great night of fights, but the betting wise, it just was rough. After that, I had plenty of action afterwards, so I was like, okay, maybe this could still turn around. That was one of my lower unit bets, so I wasn't fully discouraged. And then we got to Rebovix, and he got whooped. That was a bad bet. I had Gamrot as a favorite. I just didn't have it as the line wasn't as wide. Well, I thought the line was wide, but my line was a lot closer to like not a pick 'em, but I basically just didn't think Gamrot deserved that plus 200 number. Turns out he did. Ribovic's volume just disappeared. He couldn't get comfortable knowing that grappling was coming his way in the wrestling. So that was a bad bet. I'll definitely chalk that as a bad bet, and I believe it was my biggest bet of the weekend. So that definitely hurt. Moving on with the losses, I think Nate the Train was up next, and he got smoked too. That was a bad bet in hindsight. I don't know. He just came out. He was stuck in mud. He couldn't do anything. I don't even remember him landing anything. Cub Swanson was able to stay on the outside and just popped him and just looked way faster than him. I never been a Nate the Train fan. I always do try to fade him, but he just didn't. It didn't look like he was present there. I don't know if the moment was too big for him with Cub retiring and having his kids at ringside, octagon side. As soon as I seen his kids next to Trump, watching him fight, I knew it was kind of curtains. But there's a reason why I took like a big plus money play on that for just a unit. I wasn't 100% confident in it. I was mostly sticking to my guns of fading retiring guys, and that one crashed and burned. Would hurt a lot less if I didn't fall a second short on Suarez and Gastelum's chin didn't disappear. But that was my last play I think I posted. So it was my least confident, which is why I only went for the unit. But it still hurt in hindsight. And it's something we got to eliminate too in future bets and future cards, adding those. Now that we're down about like 10 units on the year, and I'll go review that after this. That's something we won't see too much of, these lower confidence plays I have getting posted. Moving on, Reyes by TKO. That fight was horrible. I wasn't on the timeline. I always watch fights late because my kids go to bed pretty late, and I don't like starting cards. I like to focus on the cards, and I can't focus on anything when my kids are up. So when they're sleeping, I like to turn on UFC. So I'm usually starting cards at 9. That's why I'm always not on the timeline. I'm starting cards like around 9 or 10, and then that's the undercard. So I have to go through all the fights. Usually up to like 2 a.m. watching them. But I'm sure the timeline was roasting Reyes and Walker for that fight. That was horrible. Mostly because Walker's footwork was the story. I know the commentary pointed it out, but he did a good job of keeping his feet on the outside of Reyes's lead leg. So it really made for a poor fight. I know Reyes called it technical. I guess there's a difference between technical and just not throwing. So that was crash and burn too. But there's a reason why I went plus money on that. He ended up taking the split decision, which I thought Walker won that fight, but you can make the case for either of them or for how bad it was. Another lesson there, and taking into our next cards, is we're going to lean a little less on props. If I were just to raise to win, that would have been a cash, and it was at playable odds. I thought it was a little wide just because of his chin, but looking back at it, it's something we should have just took the money line on that. But who was really predicting a fight like that? I mean, I guess when you got two power guys with shaky chins, they would come out a little cautious. But still, to have like no volume at all, not even, I don't even remember like a punch landing on Walker, to be honest. So, is what it is. That's gonna happen. Next up, Pocket. Man, that was a crazy fight. I don't know how he didn't get the TKO. It turns out Blades had a broken orbital bone and something else. So usually he falls in those situations. He's been knocked out cold plenty of times, and he was hurt in the beginning of the fight. Ended up coming back and making that one of the better fights that we've seen ever. So it did sting a little bit to not cash on that fight either, but that's another one. If we took Hackett as a winner instead of by TKO, that would have been another win, which would have made it Reyes a win, Hackett a win. And I guess I could have took Suarez just straight up too. So that would have been 3 wins right there. And, lesson learned. But like I said, there was a reason why I went plus money on them, because I wasn't 100% confident. But we'll take that into future cards. That would have been a big swing. That probably would have brought, I think that would have brought in like around 3 units, almost 4 at the plus 260 number. So that was just unfortunate too, to see him land so many punches and almost look like the TKO was there, but just kept avoiding him. And to end the night, well, let me go over to PFL because that was involved. Romanov over 1.5. I didn't cover this on the podcast, but this was a rematch of their last fight in UFC. I actually didn't even watch this fight to really recap and tell you what happened, but um, they gave us -130 at Romanov and over 1.5, which I thought was a pretty decent odds because the fight was favored to go the distance, and I thought he could work his usual game plan. And I seen he got the sub, so I'm sure that's exactly what he did. But with PFL scheduling, events at the same time as UFC, especially a bigger UFC card, I didn't even see this on the timeline afterwards. I seen like highlights that they posted, didn't care to watch it. Maybe I'll go back and see how that fight played out. But with that being a prelim, definitely didn't see anything about it. And yeah, I just had confidence in Romanov kind of repeating what he did last time, and it seems like that's exactly what he did, but ended up getting the finish. And in the main event, Olberg versus Yuri. Imagine going through all of these and having some unfortunate, a little bad luck with Suarez, Gaslam, Reyes, Hackett, and then you see Olberg blow his knee out. I'm just like, dude, if it rains, it pours. If it can go wrong, it will. And as soon as I seen Olberg blow his knee out, I just knew, okay, I'm getting reverse swept on back-to-back weeks. This is gonna sting. I might have to retire. But he put it out. Shout out to Yuri for being a warrior and wanted to just bang out with Olberg instead of just, kicking that lead leg and ending the fight. So yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks for Yuri. I kind of see where he's coming from. And, he is a fighter's fighter. He's a fan's fighter. So he wanted to make that a fight, but got caught slipping with that check hook and went to sleep for it. And will probably, I don't want to say never, because that was like his fourth title fight, I believe. So he's got a lot of work to do again. He'll always be the fans' light heavyweight of choice. But, if he suffers one more knockout, it's pretty fair to say, or even one more like major loss, it's pretty fair to say that he'll probably never fight for a title again. But Olberg cashed on that, thank God, because it was very ugly and not looking good when that knee went out. But he ended up being our only cash of the night to bring us -6 units, with Romanov winning, I believe it was like 5.3, 5.3 something loss, or it might be 5.2. But anyways, big loss on the week. Let's go ahead and go up to 2024, see where we're at. Yeah, so we're down 10 units now. Not the biggest deal. You can make that up in about 2 events, just how we crashed it in 2 events. Realistically, probably 3 or 4 would get us back in a profit, but we got to attack some lines and come back. It's not I'm really worried about. If you've been betting for so long, you realize cold streaks happen, and you just kind of got to learn, adjust your units, and then kind of slow grind back. And then once you get to a certain point, you can kind of get back to um, your usual edges and how many units you would use. And I'm describing that poorly, but basically you just get back to your normal game after you get to at least even or a couple units above 500. So been here before. I'll show you guys how to work out. I'm looking at this. Wow, the straights have not been treating us well. I say we're gonna lean less on the props, but it looks like they're the bets that are only profitable. The only ones that are profitable this year. Parlays are pretty much at even too as well, which I'm kind of shocked by. I thought a lot of my parlays were crashing and burning, and I thought my straights were carrying me. But a lot of these are, well, I mean, 13 units is 13 units, but yeah, a lot of these were close calls. I don't have time to recap every single one of them, but I'm still confident in my straights. Just kind of got to lean a little more, or lean down a little more, I should say. I feel like I'm having way too many plays on cards. And like I said, I'm adding like those lower confidence plays to kind of balance out when I should just, lean the card out a lot more is basically the overall lesson I'm taking from this year so far. Um, Without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the card. Like I mentioned, have not seen the lines all week, have not been on social media, just been breaking down fights, giving my lines, and then we're going to go check them out. So let's jump into the first fight. Jamie Siraj. I don't know what I did with my water, but I'm going to have to take a timeout to get it. Jamie Siraj versus John Yanis. Yanis, he debuted on short notice. Was it last year, 2024? Believe it was last year. Yes, against Bashi. Pretty much just got choked out 3 minutes in. Didn't do much. Didn't show much on a regional scene. He's kind of just like this brawler in a way. He has decent power, and I was able to kind of just walk guys down. You see the record is Jimenez 4-4. Fighting like kind of like 500 fighters, if not like newer fighters himself, 9-7. So, he kind of just been taking the usual regional scene, just getting built up. The problem with that is he's already 31. I seen on commentary that said he has a full time job, so I'm not sure how committed he is to MMA. A lot of these guys do still have jobs and are still nice, but I don't know. He like I said, if you're a little older and you're working and you're not really focused on MMA 100%, time's kind of working against you. And it did show against that fight against Bashi because he was taken down fairly easy. It pretty much just shows a game plan for his future opponents and what they can do. But outside of that, if he can't keep the fight standing, he has good power, good hooks. I've seen him throw like a wheel kick before. But outside of that, he's really just coming out to knock guys out. He's not really in there to win decisions, it seems like, and I don't think he's really equipped to go pretty long. I'm pretty sure all of his wins are primarily by knockout. So he does have some decision wins, actually. But you see, his 4 losses are coming by sub and decision. So if he's not getting that knockout, I just don't think he's going to improve as much to really become this guy to really like grind out minutes on the feet for an extended period of time. And if you take him down, it's pretty much going to be curtains because, like I said, he's not going to be improving anywhere anytime soon. And it's not a good sign against Siraj, who is primarily a grappler. Also new to the scene. I believe this is his debut. I'm trying to break up my notes here. A lot of these guys are newer. I'm not on a regional scene like that. I have to review tape for these guys to be able to talk about them. So I will be referencing back to my notes. So if you see me looking down, I got my notes on my phone. But yeah, he is a grappler. Looks pretty good with his grappling as well. You kind of really get that true test once you make it to the UFC and start facing these more like well-rounded, seasoned guys. A lot of times you can't get matchups on the regionals where guys just don't know how to grapple. You see the records 27-12, 25-10. I'm looking at his opponent's records here, 29-22. So very weak strength of schedule, but his grappling has looked pretty good. He's been stopped before, though. He's been put on his back. Sometimes he can do what they call, play jujitsu off his back. So you never want to see that in fights. He's been on his back like in some rounds where like he's lost, like against one of these fights. He pretty much lost like a round because he was on his back for a majority of the time, and then pretty much just gets reversals and locks and chokes. So not the cleanest grappler. I really haven't seen him strike like that either to know what we got with that. But he's pretty much just going to be one of those guys that's selling out for takedowns and trying to get them. And then if he can get them, he's going to look good. If he doesn't, he's not going to look. He's going to be hittable on the feet, be able to get knocked out. Also on the older side, he's 31 as well. So time is ticking too. I don't know why UFC signed him. This is at 135, which is a decently deep division for the most part. So I don't know why he's signed outside the fact that he's Canadian and to fill out the card. For him to be signed and get like a good matchup against like a lower tier fighter, I don't get it. But we're not here to discuss that. I'm here to discuss the line, and I had Siraj like in the minus 200 range. I think if anybody's going to come in more improved, it's him. He will be at home. And like I said, he's a grappler, and we do have that path with Giannis, just not looking great on the ground, especially getting taken down by Bashi, who's a little, who's a good wrestler, but he is smaller, definitely smaller than a Siraj here, who would be actually bigger than Giannis. So just with the ease of Bashi, what he was able to do with Giannis, which is not a good sign against a grappler who's not exactly a better wrestler than Bashi, but it will be bigger and could just find ways to the mat just naturally through the fight, and has legit sub skills. So I had Siraj in the minus 200 range. So let's Let's go take a look at the line and the props and all that. And yeah, minus 270. So pretty much spot on there. A little wide, I guess, with Siraj and his striking not being too great. So there's really nothing I would probably take here since my line is at least close. I mean, 70 cents. Like I said, this is kind of like dogger pass range in Giannis 500 TKO, which is pretty much his primary path. I don't think it should be the same as decision. He's going to spend a lot of time on his back. So, yeah, even if he does survive on the ground, he will have to get up and get a knockout because I think it just the control time will add up too much. So let's look at the overs. I don't mind an underplay. I keep saying the Giannis knockouts in play and then the sub on the other side. So I think we could get a finish. The fight goes the distance minus 150. So there's some value in that 2.5 at um, minus 115. Submission decision 170. So if you want a small discount, you could go ahead and go that route. But with me having low confidence on both guys, this is most likely a pass. I would either, the sub. I didn't check out Siraj, my sub, which is 185. That's not a bad price, 185. Let's see if we could get it somewhere else. If you could get plus 200 by Siraj sub, that's like his game. And like I said, Giannis is there to be taken down. I don't see why that would be. What was the decision? 200. So it's close. So yeah, looks like you get 210 on FanDuel. Which honestly, I think that's a good price. You see here, 7 wins. 50% of his wins are coming by sub. The game plan's right in front of him what to do. We've seen it with Bashi, who locked in, I believe it was a rear naked choke, fairly easy. So that's there, man. We'll write it down and take a look. I'll keep it in my notes here. Let me write it down. And then we'll kind of recap bets at the end. I think that's the best way to play it. It's just to go ahead and see or write down what we see. And then at the end of the show, we'll go ahead and take a look. I said I was going to lean off the props, but the plus 200, that's looking pretty good. I don't really see why that would be at 2-1 odds, knowing the matchup in front of us and what Siraj could do on the ground with his grappling. So write it down, and we will move on. Let's get up out of here. Giannis the Juice. I didn't know that was his nickname. Got some cool nicknames on the cards we'll go over, especially later. We got what's his name? Rat Juice, Rat Garbage. What's his name? We'll get there when we get there. John Castaneda versus Mark. I forgot how to say Vlogden. But we'll start with Vlogden first. If you don't know this man, you should, because he was one half of the greatest fight of all time in the Dana White Contender Series last year. That's not my words. That's the UFC words. After his fight on the Contender Series, they uploaded the video, the fight video, saying that this was the greatest fight of all time. That was literally the title of the video they uploaded. So yeah, it was a good fight. I think it's a little overrated. I actually didn't watch it live. I think I had something to do, but I actually went back and watched it this week for the first time, and I think people got caught in the moment. But it was a really good fight, greatest fight of all time. I definitely don't think it deserves to get that title, at least outright. How they did it, but really good fight. Before that, what he's shown is he's pretty well rounded, but he's mostly like a boxer. Kind of got like a little Peter Yan to him. He's on the shorter side for the class. Yeah, I believe this fight's at 135. I want to check. If I do that, I'll reveal the odds. So let me back up. I just want to make sure we're in the right weight class because I think he's floated between two classes. So yeah, it is at 135. Um, yeah, I got a little Peter Yan to him, man. He has a good footwork, good power, can throw diverse strikes, can even wrestle. I think he even has like a sambo background to go along with the kickboxing. He's trained with Kamzat before. He had an interview saying how Kamzat had like bought all these things for him and kind of like helped him with his training. So I definitely got good people around him, and it has shown a pretty decent ceiling at this young age. You know, he's only 25, just turned 25 on top of that, so he has a lot of time to get better. Um, in that fight, the Dana White Contender Series fight, it was just striking the entire time. He dropped his opponent in the first round. Second round, uh, pretty much didn't do anything in the second round, which was kind of strange. He got caught in a clinch and got beat up, and just really didn't unload. But he did bounce back in the third. Was tired, but was still throwing with power, and just overall, just kind of looked like one of those guys that can develop into a pretty good fighter. In terms of like his striking is already there, and he does have some wrestling in his background. So if he improves at all and kind of tightens up his defense, he's going to be a problem. So I think a lot of people are going to like him here. I fully expect him to be the favorite. Let me see what else I got noted on him. Oh yeah, super athletic too. Like I said, he's usually in and out of the pocket fairly easy. He's very fast. So we'll see if that power translates over to the UFC, where you're going to be facing a lot more seasoned guys, possibly bigger guys, especially here against Castaneda, who will be, well, it's actually only like a foot taller, but he just seems like overall like a bigger guy, probably because he's 34, Castaneda is, and he's just more filled out. So, I mean, that'll come for Vlogden too. So once he starts filling out and more like refining his game, I think he has a pretty high ceiling, just off the striking alone. So, as you see the record, he's been a decision a couple times. He has lost, but when you're in this Russian regional scene too, this is a lot of like decent comp, a lot of got wrestlers, things like that. So he's probably seen it all. So it's always good to come from a background like this as well. And then yeah, I mean his first test is going to be against Castaneda. Too, it's fairly decent too. I know he's kind of had like a rough stretch, but overall, he's not a bad fighter. He's very well rounded too, where he could take a fight to the mat. He could strike too as well. Recently, he lost against Marcos. He got 30-27. That was probably one of his poor performances recently. He got knocked down. It wasn't like a knockdown where he was like out, but he did get caught off balance, got knocked down, and pretty much just got outstruck the entire fight against Marcos. Landed a head kick at the end, wasn't enough. Did get a takedown as well. But yeah, he just got outstruck. The footwork was too much for him, and he showed a lot of good, or showed some good, but it just wasn't enough. His striking just wasn't there against Marcos, who's a better striker. Was undefeated at the time. It was kind of like at the peak of his game, and then he fought Gutierrez after that. As you see, it was a split. I kind of thought he won that fight. I'm not necessarily scoring fights while I watched them, but it was very a close fight. Another fight where he was kind of mixing in takedowns. He had the takedown at the end of round 3, which I kind of thought swung around for him to give him, I believe, 1 and 3, but did not get that decision on the cards. So ended up dropping 2 in a row. I mean, good movement. He's just really. I'm struggling to describe him because he's just kind of decent anywhere, but he's not really great. The striking's good, the grappling's good. He makes good decisions in the cage, but he just doesn't shine anywhere to really see a high ceiling. I believe he's in his 30s as well, so there's really nothing. 34, so he's pretty much past his prime years, or just past his prime years of those lower 30s, and I just don't see how he could really compete on the feet here enough. I think Vlogden's going to be able to hit him. And as long as Vlogden kind of stays out the way and stays away from the grappling, I think he could really point him out here. Castaneda is pretty tough. You know, he has been dropped in recent fights, but only two TKO losses. And honestly, I think, like I said, he's just very good everywhere, but he just doesn't shine anywhere like Vlogden does on the feet. How Vlogden can mix in takedowns as well. I think the game plan from Castaneda is going to like push him on the cage and kind of drain him there, and see if he can get the takedowns himself. But as long as this fight keeps standing, I think Vlogden's just a much cleaner striker, and I think he lands more at volume. I think Castaneda will land some shots, like some hard shots, and test that chin of Vlogden, but I think Vlogden's going to be the favorite here. It is a debut for Vlogden, so we will see what the line will be. But personally, I had him like in the minus 180 range. I think that's fair with him debuting and Castaneda already having some decent experience. Well, Castaneda just not shining anywhere. I wouldn't have confidence in him. I'd be shocked if he's a favorite, and I'm pretty confident that he won't be. So let's go ahead and see where the line is at there. Oh, he's a favorite. Wow. Damn, like I said, I'd be shocked if he was a favorite. And I will say for a lot of these fights this week, I'm probably gonna be on the opposite side of some of these lines. You kind of get the sense of where lines would be when you just look at matchups. Wow. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, I've been a bad better this year, so maybe this line is correct and Castaneda should be the favorite, but I don't agree. I think Vlogden's ceiling is a lot higher, and I would be glad, happily taking him at plus money. Um, let's see what we could get. Let's see if there's any movement this week. Okay, so it looks like he was a favorite on that book at least. And yeah, see, he started off as a favorite. So it looks like money was coming in on Castaneda. If not, it's been pretty much kind of like a pick 'em all week, it seems like. But yeah, opening odds earlier in the week. Yeah, I mean, it pretty much looks like a pickup and a pickup, and Castaneda's been getting some money in. And I'm not shocked. Like I said, every one of these lines comes with like a confidence scale, and with Vlogden being a debut guy and not really tested, and like I said, being a little like smaller, like on a muscular side. I see why people do like Castaneda, but yeah, with Vlogden's ceiling with his striking and mixing in the grappling, if he can, at the very least, he can kind of fight off grappling, just having that background. I will take him at plus money. I like that. Where's 110 at? DraftKings. Yeah, we'll lock that in. I think that's a good bet. Just with his fight style, I mean, he could be in and out. I think he's going to be a lot faster than Castaneda too. If he avoids that big punch, I think he could definitely be the guy landing at volume. So I'd be happy to get him at plus money for sure, since I had him as a favorite. Like I said, I had him in minus 180 range. I guess looking back at it, it's definitely a little wide. That was kind of me being a little too high on him. But yeah, like I said, he trained with Kamzat. You got to have some grappling defense, and he, like I said, I think he said he like teaches sambo too. So, um, yeah, I'll take plus money on there for sure to fake Castaneda, who I think. Let's look. I'm trying to think how many times he's been a favorite in fights, which he's probably had some matchups that called for it. But like in competitive fights, I don't think he's been a favorite too often. Yeah. He was a dog against Gutierrez, against Marcos, which was essentially a pick 'em. But a lot of these lines are very close. Plus 150 against Johns, plus 365. So he's been a favorite a handful of times. Lost as a minus 190 favorite. Sexy Mexi. Yeah, I'll take I'll take Vlogden for sure at plus money. That's a good plus money play with his ceiling. Okay, let's keep it up. Keep moving up the card. Mitch Posto, Nascimento. Let's start with Mitch. Mitch is the newer guy, even though Nascimento has been kind of in and out of the cage. He's kind of lacked consistency in terms of getting booked and staying in there. I think he's fought 2 years in a row now, but he took a pretty long layoff. Mitch debuted it last year on short notice to take on Andre Lima. Lima had missed weight. Mitch still took it. Ended up losing a split decision, but it didn't look like a split. Granted, there wasn't a lot of action going on. Lima was just pretty much leg kicking him the entire time. And Mitch actually fractured his shin in that fight, which is definitely a lesson to not take a flyweight fight when they miss by however many pounds. I think Lima missed by like a ton of pounds. Yeah, he came in like at that 130, so missed like by 5 pounds. And Mitch is already a smaller guy, so that was tough. Lima pretty much just stayed on the outside and calf kicked him over and over, and won by doing that. Sumerdarji, he lost a split there too as well. That was a closer fight. Let me get to my notes because I thought that Aldrich fight was next. So yeah, he pretty much he got outstruck there. Only landed like 9, 10 significant strikes. So you never like to see that. And then gets Maxim. He got his first win in the UFC. My thing with Mitch is he keeps fighting like an outside like kickboxer style where he kind of just like he will score with his hands, but next thing you know he's like on the outside and he's circling. He has like a lot of lateral movement after he scores, and I just don't get why he keeps doing that with his body type where he's probably best inside and kind of like in the pocket and either Mexican takedowns or throwing his hands in boxing range. I don't get why he's kind of like in and out as much as he is, especially against a guy like Sumer Darji who was longer, Andre Lima who was bigger. Maxim was a grappler, so I guess it kind of makes more sense to do that against him. But yeah, even his corner was calling for it. They wanted more volume and close, but he just wasn't giving it to him. Like I just mentioned, he had like only 9 significant strikes against Sumer Darji. Didn't have that much against Lima, and against Maxim, I'm pretty sure it was fairly low too. But there was a lot of grappling in that fight as well. But yeah, he fights like a long guy, but he's not. So I don't understand why he keeps fighting like that. He has the tools to develop. He has fast hands. He has the wrestling, and he's athletic. Like I said, he is on the smaller side, so that is a drawback. But I honestly don't get why he fights the way he does. It's something he has to learn and develop, which is definitely something he could do at a young age. And with his athleticism that he does have, he showed a lot of that in the regional scene, which is why some people are kind of excited to see him in the UFC. But he's been fairly disappointing because of that so far, because it's like an IQ thing. His hands look really good when he lets them go, but he just doesn't. And he seems pretty content just popping guys and then, getting on the outside and using lateral movement around the cage, which I honestly think could help him in this matchup against Nascimento, since Nascimento is pretty much offers nothing with the striking outside of kicks. He's going to look to get a hold of Mitch. So as much as I say that he shouldn't fight like that, I think he probably should against Nascimento, because you don't want to be in close to him, because if he gets his hands on you, his grappling is deadly. You see the 16 wins by sub. So there's no secret about what he wants to do. He wants to go in there and get a hold of you and get you down. He is from Shootbox with Charles Oliveira and them. We know about their grappling. So yeah, this is basically he's kind of sub or bust. And his striking is, I guess you could say, it's improved. Like he did land on a nice elbow on Cody Durden that led to that anaconda choke, but that was mostly on Durden kind of going in there wild and throwing and got himself caught. Kind of walked right into that elbow because he was reckless. So yeah, I mean he got the job done, but before that he was getting popped. Like the whole first round, Durden was just his target practice. He landed pretty much anything he wanted to because Nascimento does not move his head. He's a little taller for the class. He also missed weight and yeah, against Philo. So this could be a situation where Raposo faces another weight misser, which would be very unfortunate for him. But yeah, he's grapple or bust. So I usually pick on guys like that, but with the jujitsu edge being very in Nascimento's favor, I do have an issue if he, or I do have a slight worry that with Raposo being smaller, that he could get a hold of him, and if he gets him down and he's sort of like scramble or just simply takes him down, that could be the end of the fight because I don't think Raposo has the jujitsu like that. He's shown great wrestling and good takedowns, but once he's gotten guys to the ground, he hasn't been able to keep him down. So this should be all striking from Raposo. If he goes for any type of takedown, I will be completely out on Raposo and his fight IQ, and won't even consider him for future bets. And he would be a fade product because there's no way he should be trying to grapple or trying to wrestle with Nascimento in this fight. He's there to be hit. He should be in and out like he is. But with that being an issue in his fights and how he hasn't won, I don't know. I don't know the game plan here from him. And like I said, I'm questioning his fight IQ already. So this is a strange spot for me. I uh I went with Nascimento as a favorite. I gave him like minus 130, 140 range. Not the highest confidence level on it because, like I said, I don't think he can strike at all and he doesn't move his head. So I think he should be the favorite because of the very wide edge or very wide gap in the jujitsu. I think it just takes one takedown for him to win this fight. If not, he could pretty much hold Raposo down for an entire round and kind of drain him if it happens early. So it's on Raposo to get in there and either knock him out or just stay on the outside and win with his striking, which he can. He's very fast, but with the jujitsu, with the grappling edge being clearly in Nascimento's favor, um, and him kind of just finding ways to get to it, I think he could definitely. I think he should definitely be the favorite here, and like I said, like minus 130, 40 range. So let's go check it out. Okay, so I promise I'm not looking at that Aldridge line. Even though I did see that line already, so I'll be honest with you guys. When we get there, I already seen that line, but we'll get there when we get there. Minus 190. Okay, yeah. So I mean, all these lines are going to be wider. That's just how the books operate to get their percentage, and bettors probably agree with me and drive that price up through the week from when it opened. So that makes sense. Now Cemento submission 220. Why did he keep doing this to me? We liked the first fight. What was his name? Siraj. Um, sub 200, and now they're doing this to me 220 with Nascimento. I'm trying to leave the props down, but that is another great price. Looks like they like decision a lot more. I guess. Has Raposo ever been subbed? He only has 13 fights. I'm sure he hasn't seen a grappler like Nascimento. I mean, Maxim was a wrestler. I mean, if I favor a fighter by decision, it's probably Mitch because of the striking and the damage upside. So I guess that's an angle too, but and then I had Mitch like in like 120, 30 range or like 115. I'm sorry. Cause yeah, I had Nascimento minus 140. So like 115, 120 range. So I guess there's a little bit of value in Mitch here. I guess he can come by decision. Like I said, let's see what decision TKO is because he's should not sub Nascimento. They're probably close to money line 165. Yeah. So kind of we'll bookmark this. Confidence is still low. Like I said, it just really depends on Raposo's game plan here and if he shows any improvements. But with Nascimento looking how he has, this should be his fight. And the only thing I can think of is 220 by sub. Let's see if we could get it better anywhere else. Raposo by sub plus basically 2,000. Damn, was it that much over here? Yeah, it was. You never know. Yeah, looks like markets are on the same. 230 on FanDuel. FanDuel is juicing up props lately. Yeah, I guess I'll write it down. It makes sense. Nascimento has a ton of subs, and he's going to look to get a smaller Raposo to the ground. So maybe we have a subathon going here. You never know. Let's write it down. It'd be a fire up parlay between Siraj and Nascimento with the plus 200 subs. Yeah, favorite Nascimento in that fight. We'll go back to the betting lines to see if we like anything by the end of it, but not the highest confidence in that fight either. Going to go up the card. I believe we have AJ Lee, Jamie Lynn Horth, or not AJ Lee, that's wrestling, which is a good segue, or not segue, but I will go ahead and look at the WrestleMania betting lines. WrestleMania is this weekend. For those of you who still watch some wrestling, I'm in and out of the product. I don't think it's as good as it used to be. And I'm talking like, like 10 years ago, not as good as it used to be then. But still in and out. Grew up a wrestling fan. Will always have a love for it, and it's impossible for me to hate on it. But just kind of outgrew it, like most people do. But I'm always checking in, tapping in. I like the business side of it, how they decide to like push guys, not push guys. I think it's very similar to UFC, and how they decide to push guys as well. Just kind of like momentum and who the fans like and things like that. We see it with Josh Hackett, who just got put on that White House card, and who's actually playing like a WWE character. So, yeah, we'll take a look at WrestleMania lines and give some thoughts on some matchups there after this. Okay, so I did see this line. I think I just scrolled over on Tapology during the week and seen that Horth was the favorite. I guess to save time, I don't agree. At least the number I'd seen, if that's correct, definitely. I think it's seen like minus 200 Horth, which is crazy because she's pretty much been. I want to say there's like kind of like with Castaneda earlier. I'm sure there's been matchups where she has, was clearly the favorite and it should have been the favorite. But outside of that, I am fairly confident that she has been a dog. Wow, Demopolis. I forgot she was a huge favorite for that fight at 190, 550. Well, I guess I stand corrected. Well, she hasn't been on here a long time, and she hasn't faced the best comp. So it's been like 50-50 on her going back and forth from being a dog and a favorite. So I stand corrected. I thought she's been in UFC for a lot longer. First fight was 2023. See, I thought I don't know. I guess time's moving fast on me, but I thought she's been in UFC for a lot longer than that. But anyways, she has improved, so I see why she would be the favorite in this fight. I used to think she couldn't punch at all, but her striking has looked pretty okay. Like I said, improved. She did get a TKO on her last fight. Pretty much her opponent was going for takedowns, and as soon as they broke from when Horth had got up, she landed a right hand, and I believe that was on Tezza Bleda. She just kind of like landed a hook as soon as they kind of broke from a takedown attempt, or as soon as she got up from a takedown and dropped her and her, and then Bleda hasn't fought like in a couple years before that. She did beat up Vanessa Demopoulos on the feet, but that was you've seen the number, how big of a favor she was. Demopoulos is not good. I believe Demopoulos was up a weight class as well, so she was just kind of like out of her range. Horth was just able to stay on the outside, work her kicks to stay there, and then anytime Demopoulos crashed in, she just hit her with something up the middle. So that was a fairly easy fight for her to win on the feet. Miranda Maverick, she got out wrestled, I believe, since that's pretty much Maverick's game. And outside of that, she's been in a lot of like grappling fests, as I like to call them, just kind of using her big body to lean on girls on the cage and eventually get them down. Like I said, I think her striking has improved, but those matchups kind of called for it in those last two. So I see why people are a little more confident in her because of her size and her ability to grapple. If the striking can come along with it, then yeah, she's going to be a pretty decent fighter, even at 36, since she's kind of in that weight class where, well, she's at 125, but all these women weight classes are kind of been poor depth lately. Hasn't been really too much like up and comers. So she's kind of getting like matchups, decent matchups to see like maybe get like a push or even get put into this spot where she's fighting in Canada and could be like a decent name for the UFC, the book when it once they go there. And she got that with JJ Aldrich, who has been kind of up and down herself. 14-7. Let's see what her UFC record is. 10-6. So she's been here for a minute. I believe she came in 2016. This is her 10th year, which is I didn't think Horth has been there that long, but I could have swore she's been there more than 3 years. But yeah, she's kind of been up and down. She is a mostly striker, but she has tried to work her wrestling in fights. She has been taken to the mat, so that's another reason why I've seen Horth. See why Horth would be the favorite. My main beef with Aldridge is she does have good striking, but she just doesn't let it go. Her volume is very low. Her 1-2 is pretty good, but I guess outside of that, she hasn't really shown like any decent type of ceiling outside like good straight punches. Anything up the middle. I thought maybe that could be enough to be a favorite against Horth, or at least make this more of a pick 'em, but apparently not. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of just the same thing every fight with her. Like she'll come with a 1-2 and land it, but you won't see it for a while, and then she's clinching up against the cage, and her damage is just way too far apart in rounds, and then she ends up dropping them. If the matchup really doesn't call for her to clearly outstrike an opponent, it's going to be a close fight. But she is super durable. I will give her that. I'm sure these overs are going to be unplayable, which is fully the expectation in this fight, even with Horth coming off a finish. But yeah, I expect this to be a pretty decent fight. Like I said, my line, I guess I was shocked when I seen Horth was that big of a favorite. Like I mentioned earlier, I did see this line already. I kind of had it like closer to a pick 'em because I'm just still not that high on Horth and her striking. I think she's getting a little bit overrated for the last two matchups. Before that, she just didn't seem to have. She just didn't seem to be like a good puncher at all. So that's usually the type of fighters I'm fading because the damage thing. You're not putting enough damage out there. You're doing a lot of clinching and holding on, and as soon as that opponent breaks and lands a couple things on you, in theory, that should be winning. That should be winning that fighter to fight off the damage argument. So I think Horth or Aldrich offer 1-2 alone could go ahead and end up leading this fight on damage. So I had to pick them. Like I said, this Horth. Let me see if it's still there at this 200 line. So minus 180. So it has come down a little bit, unless Topology was just wrong, or she might be 200 on other books. But yeah, Dogger Pass. It's definitely Dogger Pass. Another fight where the confidence isn't too high. But if we're just going straight off edges off my lines, this is definitely a good spot for Aldrich. So I will write it down and revisit it, maybe do a little bit more research. But I would definitely entertain Aldrich. And okay, it looks like money is coming in because like I mentioned earlier, when I seen Horth on Topology, I like hovered over her picture and it said she was like minus 200. And I just thought that was way wide. And as you see, some of these books has decent money coming in on Aldridge or her getting close to minus 115. Let me see what the movement was like through the week. Okay, so it's been pretty steady coming her way. What was it, 50? So yeah, you feel the same way I do. You could probably hop on Aldridge at my plus 150. And I've been pretty inconsistent this year, but I would imagine that would probably be her peak pricing, just the way the market's going, unless people fall in love with Horth on fight day. She is at home, so that's another factor. But confidence isn't the best on here. I would definitely go Dogger Pass, though. We'll see where the price goes. It's already going towards Aldrich. So we'll see what that 150 looks like at the end of the podcast, and we'll see where we're at on that. But yeah, I don't mind it at all. Probably wouldn't be no more than like a unit. All right, let's see who we got next because I think my order is different than what's on Tapology. And there's a fight coming up that, I mean, I guess I'll share more when I get there, but I have no interest in that heavyweight fight coming up. All right, Croden. Zelenskova. All right, so Croden. Oh, yeah, I started with Zelenskova. We'll start with Croden, actually. So Croden's on fight 3, I believe. Yes, fight 3. Yeah, so she signed last year, had 2 fights, went 1-1. She did knock out Lisboa. Uh, pretty. She's a tough like striker in terms of like how stiff her punches are. Her punches up the middle are pretty hard. She has decent power for the division. She looks pretty strong. She has like cuts in her arms and things, and she is tall, so she does look like she's going to pack a lot of power. She actually has a decent amount of knockouts. I think majority of her wins are by knockouts. Yeah. What was that 6 out of 7 or 8? 6 out of 7 have been knockouts, and it makes sense. She is a kickboxer. She also has some Muay Thai. I read that she did go over to Thailand and spend some time there to refine those skills and kind of to see if this is what she wanted to do. So, with her success there, she went to MMA and kind of went through the regional scene. She was in LFA for a little bit. She did fight for the LFA belt against Cavalcanti. In a fight, she ended up losing. The scorecards are kind of everywhere in the fight. I know she did get dropped in the first round, but ended up recovering and made it somewhat competitive. There was a judge ahead of 50-45. And then the other two, I think, scored just one round in her favor. And then the other judge had it 3-2 for Cavalcanti. But Cavalcanti definitely won that fight. This just depends on what judge was right and how competitive it was. But she can land some power punches. Like I mentioned, she knocked out Lisboa pretty much like a bully style, where she just kind of like marches forward. She even has a nickname that they said, the Scarecrow, because of just how like stiff she is and how she just marches in with these straight punches, which they look good. Her punches, like I said, they're right up the middle. They're nice and straight and they're powerful, but she suffers from that common downfall from a lot of these unseasoned fighters and that are kind of like big and powerful in the women's division, where they're so stiff that they're so hittable. She does not move her head. She keeps it upright. That tall man defense, like they like to say. So that's one thing she's going to definitely have to work on against, definitely against Zelenskova, who's primarily a boxer and is going to be able to hit her. But I think just off her power alone, she's in a good spot here to kind of just march forward and work her usual game plan. Her Muay Thai is pretty good. She's gotten a hold of girls and just like let off knees and finish fights that way. That loss against Santos pretty much just got taken down from like judo throws and things. I think she spent the entire third round like kind of like in a headlock on the ground, where Santos just had her head and it kind of just like kept her there. So there was really nothing she could do there. So if there's an opponent that can take her down, that would definitely be the path to least resistance. She is a big girl and powerful, and is going to be able to march girls down that they can't really compete with her power and her size. And pretty durable too. Like I mentioned, she did get dropped by Cavalcanti, but she's never been finished and has a good chin on her. So her game plan here is most likely just going to be marching forward, getting those Muay Thai clinches, let off the knees, and kind of use her boxing to get her there as well, which should make for a tough matchup against Zelenskova, because Zelenskova is a boxer who has way better footwork and movement. she's going to be able to dip away from those punches and counter her with how stiff Croden is. So yeah, but what worries me is the power. She doesn't have a lot of power, and she does get hit pretty often too. Not only does she get hit often, she shows it. She shows damage pretty easily. I think against some Mullins and Rendon, she kind of looked like a more beat up fighter. Even though she won against Rendon, she looked very surprised that she won that fight. I know a lot of people thought that was a robbery. You could even see it on her face, like when they raised their hand. She kind of was just like, "Wow, like I really won this fight." It did not look like she expected to win. Got tapped out by Perez fairly easy once she hit the ground. And then Mullins was supposed to hold a big ground advantage, but did not really shoot in that fight towards at least not towards the end of it when it was kind of already in Zelnikova's favor. But she also got touched up in that fight too. So her being a better boxer and getting touched up against these girls that aren't necessarily supposed to be on her level, I do worry about her against Croden, who has some power, and it's going to be most likely the fighter that's marching forward, which is very going to be telling. Zelnikova fights off her back foot, and the judges love to see that march forward, fighters that march forward and are pushing the pace, which is something they really like to see during women's fights when I hate to be that guy, but like a lot of the power is kind of missing in the division, even though Croden does bring some. But with power usually missing, and it's usually kind of like a volume and a moving forward game in these women's divisions a lot of the time. And if you could do that in a close fight, it's usually going to go in your favor if you were the fighter moving forward. So with that said, and I don't expect to be right on this line. I mean, I did have it close to a pick 'em, but I did slightly favor Croden. I just want to see more of her out of her movement. I think she's going to get hit a lot too often. And when you're kind of like guaranteed to get hit with how stiff you are, I'm kind of shying away from you. This is going to be another low confidence spot, but I think her power kind of wins out. I think her Muay Thai puts her in a good spot to grab a hold of Zanakova and slow her down. So I lean towards Croden, but it's not a strong lean whatsoever. So I'm interested to see this line, but I did have Croden as a small favorite. And with how things have been going, I'm probably way off. Okay, no, she is a favorite. So, okay. Minus 165, though. No, no, I don't. That's too much. Zelnikova has good boxing. So I do like that 140 number. I just, she's just too stiff. I mean, they call her a scarecrow. That's not a good nickname to have. You don't want to be stiff in the fight game. You want to be able to move and be fluent. And with Zelnikova being able to be that, I think she makes this a pretty decent fight. So the plus 3.5 minus 135. If she can survive the power, it is favored to go over. I do like that. Let me see. I don't know if I have to go on DraftKings to see that line. Okay, so it looks like I can see it. So would it favor to go over? I think I think Zelnikova definitely could win around with her boxing, or at least make it close. So it seems like the judges like her after Rendon, after that fight with Rendon, after they gave it to her. But she can eat punches for the most part. So yeah, maybe I can't see it. So we'll have to let me pull it up on my phone. I do like a spread play with it going over and expect it to go to the cards. There's no reason why she can't steal around. If I could get something better than minus 135, I'll probably definitely jump on it. So we'll see what DraftKings says. See, they're minus 160, which I more agree with that line. So we'll probably lock this in for sure. I'll take the minus 135 on Zelnikova. And I'll see how many units after. Like I said, I'll probably enter this sometime today or tomorrow. Because with DraftKings being at minus 160, I definitely think we could see some change on that. And let's see where the line movement has been, if there's been any. I am confused on where I'm at right now. And I promise when these other lines come up, I am not looking at them. Okay, so somewhat up and down, but nothing crazy. Oh, minus 225. Wow. I was on FanDuel. Bet online is usually the ones that are opening before everybody. So nothing crazy. Yeah. I mean, I'll take Zelnikov, but this fight's supposed to stay standing up. Crowden could use her size to go ahead and draw this to the mat. But no, I should be standing, and I think Zelnikova's boxing is good enough to definitely take a round, if not win. I just don't think I would trust her because of the power on the other side. I think the judges are going to favor like the harder shots, but I think Zelnikova could survive for the most part and go ahead and steal a round. Also, got to rely on the judges as well to give her that. But I think that's a pretty decent play at a playable number, minus 135. So we will take a look at that for sure. Let's throw it on the bottom of the list. And I got to go grab my phone charger before we get to the next fight. It's a minus 135, I believe. All right, cool. All right, be right back. Gotta grab my phone charger. Croden's on the older side too, man. So if you're just thinking of who's going to come in more improved, not necessarily determined by age, but 35 compared to a 30-year-old, I will take it. Yeah, nickname Scare. They forgot the crow on the other side. Scare sounds a lot better than Scarecrow as a nickname. All right, cool. What do we got next up? Is it LeBlanc? Nope, it's the heavyweight fight. Man, no, I'll save time and not say too much slander, but I noticed both of these guys. And I do remember Bowser. Maybe they're trying to capitalize off the Super Mario movie, and it kind of sounds like Bowser. So like, hey, let's bring him in. But nah, man. Oh, he did fight in 2025. Okay, but that's some goofy indie scene. Yeah, I seen his last fight was in Bellator, and to be honest, I fade everything Bellator. I know a lot of people like Bellator. I wasn't too deep into MMA to the point where I was watching like other organizations at the time. I mean, I'll turn them on when I could, but these are kind of like my college years. I went to college late in life, so I was partying on Saturdays, man. I wasn't watching too much MMA during the day, or at least not watching these other organizations. I was mostly just like UFC main cards, and I would keep track of the prelims and go back and watch them when I could. But nah, man. I mean, I watched Bellator on the way up. Before that, I went to school and all that, but was not definitely keeping track of these names. I'm sure if you could get a better breakdown from somebody else, because I didn't even consider this fight because of their layoffs. I I don't want to give you any insight that isn't 100% accurate. Yeah, I seen those heavyweights, so I was instantly turned off, and then I seen kind of like their layoffs. All right, so I got bad info. I usually go off ESPN, and I'm pretty sure their last listed fights were this one, and then that for the other guy was back in Bellator when it was like 2023 too. So I mean, these are indie fights. Indie fights at the heavyweight level are pretty poor. Obviously, depending on the matchup, but usually it's some guy that has to go to work on Monday. So yeah, just they've been gone for too long. I didn't even consider betting this fight. I didn't look at the line either, so I guess we could take a look. It's close. Yeah, I'm not gonna spend any time on it. Expect it to go over too, so that kind of shows you the slop that'll be in the ring. I guess off that alone, yeah, the over has some value, but I'm cool on this fight. I didn't even consider it not one bit when I seen it on the card. This is gonna be my go, do something, make a sandwich, make some type of snack, go outside and do another thing. But I'm pulling that fight. You should be too. All right, Valentine LeBlanc. LeBlanc. That's definitely a Canadian name. So he's at home here. He his first fight I watched, he looked chubby. I'm like, oh gosh, like why is this guy in the UFC? I seen a 10-2 record, but he's also on the older side too. He's 34. So I'm just really confused on why he's signed too as well. I know middleweight's a little down right now, and they are looking for guys. They are in Canada, so I see why. I kind of see why that maybe would be the reason, but um, good striker. He has really good kicks, good head kick, good kick to the body very well. Not the best puncher, and then not the best grappler either. So I just don't see a real no ceiling at all for him at 34 to finally come into the UFC here. And on top of that, similar to the Siraj, the opener fight, to come into the UFC and on top of that get a winnable matchup is just very confusing to me. If you're gonna take advantage of Valentine, sometimes they call him, but I think it's pronounced Valentin. I just don't. If you're gonna take advantage of him, like give him to where like the fight he had before against Gaudier, like fade him, give him to these up and coming guys that need experience in the cage and give him winnable matchups. I just don't see why they would give him to a 34-year-old, unless it's kind of like a makeup for booking him against Gaudier and they're giving him a winnable matchup against LeBlanc. But I don't get it. I don't get this matchup. I don't get this signing. But like I mentioned, good kicker. He did get a choke in his last matchup, but it wasn't nothing special. It was pretty much just kind of like ugly grappling, and then he landed a knee in a clinch. Oh no, I'm sorry. That was the fight before that against Weeks, the Doctor Stoppage. He was getting out grappled in that fight. That's where I meant to go with that. He was getting taken down, and then he landed a big knee at the end of the second round, opened up a nasty cut on him, and ended up ending that fight. So good knees and close. Like pretty much all his game is from his legs, from his striking, from like knees to kicks. Like I said, good liver kick, good head kick. But outside of that, he doesn't really have any upside there. With the choke, he faced his last fight, that rear naked choke. You see, he faced someone that was just didn't even want to be there. As soon as he got hit with something hard, he was just checked out, and he actually got his opponent to the ground and got in a sub that wasn't even like fully, like it wasn't even rear naked. It was like from the side, and like as soon as he got his arms around his throat, he tapped. You see the 6-9 record. Um, come from that Canadian scene where it doesn't seem like there's a lot of good talent coming out. If this is the guys they're signing and the guys they're beating, or even worse, but good kicker. He will be the better striker against Valentine, so he will have that here. Valentine is mostly a jiu-jitsu guy. At the same time, he's not a good wrestler to get to it, not a good striker to kind of fall into a takedown. He pretty much just has to get lucky and get some top position or hope that guys take him down and he reverses it. He did find that against Loader, but Loader was able to come back in the second round. He had a rear naked choke against Loader in the first, where I don't know how he didn't convert it, but Loader's a pretty good wrestler, was able to reverse him And then once the second round started, he just took him down, put him in a crucifix, and finished him. Finney, he went through the Torres Finney experience, got taken down over and over, couldn't do anything with it once he did get up. And Gaudier, he got knocked out. I don't think he landed a strike. Gaudier just demolished him as he should. So no striking coming your way instantly makes you an underdog in my book. He has jiu-jitsu, but he should just be in jiu-jitsu tournaments then, because I don't see why he's fighting. Obviously, the upside is higher in fighting. He did come through the Ultimate Fighter. He got pretty far. That fight against Loader was in the finals for the Ultimate Fighter, but I don't see the striking upside. So he's instantly a dog in my book. I think he's on the older side, kind of like LeBlanc. Well, he's 31, but he looks a lot older. He looks like he could be in his upper 30s. That's kind of crazy that I'm older than him. So I guess there's room for improvement, but I don't see it. I don't think he could punch. I don't think he could kick. He has to sub you to win. And as you see, 60% of his wins are by sub. And I'm sure those TKs are ground and pounds mostly. So I had LeBlanc as a favorite, but as you could tell, I'm not too high on him either. I lined him around that minus 180 range just because I think Valentine really is that bad. But this line could honestly be anywhere, and I would not be shocked. Valentine's a favorite. I don't know why they're gonna do this to me, man. I guess this is gonna be a dog card, depending on if I'm right. I don't. Did I say my line for LeBlanc? I don't even want to say it now because that means I'll be putting 5 units on LeBlanc if I told you my line. I had like 150, 160 range because I don't get Valentine's game, man. Like he can't wrestle, he can't strike, and he likes to play jujitsu on his back. So plus 210. So basically, they're just expecting Valentine to get the takedown here and essentially get the sub. Let's see. Yeah, they favor it to under 2.5, minus 155. Yeah, man. Like I keep saying this every fight, at least up to this point, and I think a lot of the fight nights are going to be like this because they've just been terrible lately. The fight night cards, but confidence is low. I think that's fair to keep saying because we do have some debut spots, and like I said, LeBlanc has faced nobody. But for Valentine to be this big of a favorite in the UFC after what he's shown us, that jiu-jitsu guy with poor takedown defense, not good wrestling, and can't strike. I mean, I just see the upside with LeBlanc off that alone. He does kick a lot, so that does open a pathway for Valentine to go ahead and get those takedowns. Yeah, I'm perplexed here. I don't know. We're gonna write down LeBlanc. We'll go back to it. Just nah, I'm just automatic fade of Valentine as a favorite. 132 on FanDuel opener. Trying to check the line movement here. Sorry, I got poor commentating. 210. I mean, so technically there the line flipped. Well, not technically, it did flip there. But some of these books are they're meant to open the lines like this so they get the percentage they want on both fighters so they win no matter what. I keep shaking my head, man, because I just Valentine is a favorite, at least at this number. I guess it's kind of like an automatic fade to me. 370, 290 was a favorite against Loader. See how that worked out. Yeah, I'm gonna write down LeBlanc. I just think Valentine's a fade against anybody that shows like some striking upside, and I think LeBlanc does. So we'll write him down. More plus money on the board. Let me see that Valentine sub line 210, which is his favorite method. Decision LeBlanc 270, TKO 700. That's not bad, but I don't know. Valentine's pretty durable for the most part. Gaudier just hits like a train. But yeah, we'll move on. Value on LeBlanc because Valentine is not good. LeBlanc at home too. Oh, clicked on the wrong thing. All right, going up the card. Moving up, then we got Bazookia versus Mauricio Barbosa, going down at 145. Oh, don't know what I clicked on there. We'll start with Bazookia since he's been in UFC for a little bit. Debuted on short notice, I believe, against Woodson. Yeah, he did debut on short notice there. He got boxed up in that fight pretty bad, but that's excusable, I guess, against Woodson. I think we know he's not really on Woodson's level. And Woodson was able to put hands on him pretty much for 15 minutes straight. And that might have been up a weight class. I don't remember. But anyways, after that, Emmers pretty much, or he did finish him within the minute, landed a nice right, dropped him, finished him with a hammer fist after that. And then against Connor Matthews, rebounded very nice. I landed a left hook in the third round and finished him on the mat after that. The only thing is that it was pretty. He's hittable. So all his fights have pretty much competitive. As you see, he has a split decision against Francis Marshall. So his main thing is he does drop his hands a little too often. He is fast. He does have good striking in terms of like his hooks, his straight punches. He's fast. He also has a volume. So that is something that's always good to see in fighters, that he is willing to go for it. He's not really scared to throw down with guys. But as you see, it hasn't really gone in his favor. But yeah, he just drops his hands a little too often. Against Francis Marshall, he probably would have won that fight if he didn't get dropped in the second round. I don't remember how the judges had it, the scoring weighed between like the first and the third round. But the second round in that fight, almost immediately he got hit with a hook, and it almost looked like he was out the way he hit the floor. But he ended up getting back, and he might have took that fight on a couple, or might have took that round on a couple judges' cards, because he really bounced back in that second round and landed a lot of punches of his own. Stung Marshall at one point in that round too, but because he got knocked down, he was pretty much going into that third round, 2018, and that's why he lost the split. And yeah, I mean, he's just a really good puncher. Not, well, I shouldn't say really good. He's a decent puncher, but he's just too often at the end of his combos, he's dropping his hands, and he got dropped against Emmers. Pretty sure he got dropped against Matthews as well, from what I've seen. Maybe not, but he definitely got tagged. So that's his main thing. Also, he did not fight in 2025. He ended up getting in a fight with a fan because he trains with Marab and Aljo. So I think it was Aljo's fight. He got into it with a fan last year and actually like put hands on him. So he got fined and suspended by the commission for that. So I think his suspension was up like later in the year, and he just didn't get booked. So that's why he has been out, and now he'll get Barbosa, who is debuting. He went on the Contender Series last year. Knockout artist for the most part. You see it, knockout. 82% of his wins. Wow, 14 wins by knockout. I didn't realize it was that many. But yeah, this dude, he looks pretty much like a knockout artist. He's like bulky, not bulky, but he's like compact. And his footwork, he's constantly marching forward. I did write that down about his footwork, that he's good at cutting the cage off. So that definitely leads to knockouts if you could get guys in bad spots and combine that with your power. So that always is good to see out of big power guys like that they do have the footwork to match. And he pretty much just tore up LFA with knocking guys out. And they kind of been all the same fights where he's just been hunting guys and landing big hooks and following up and finishing fight to the ground. And he did get knocked out one time. It was the beginning of the second round. He almost had us that Santos guy finished in the first. Santos was able to survive, got into the second round, and literally landed the first head kick he threw, or the first strike he threw, which was a head kick. And Barbosa hit the mat. And I believe that was not so he's been knocked out a second time as well. So his major drawbacks are going to be both his cardio. I know I seen someone say that maybe his cardio was the issue in the second round. I didn't think so. I think he just got caught against Santos. I don't think he was tired. Granted, he kind of, like I said, he did knock him down, so he did maybe unloaded the clip afterwards. But outside of that, I think he's looked good during the stretch, and he looked even better in the Dana White Contender Series. He just cut the cage off, stayed patient, and got the knockout. He has the power to match his footwork, so I think he deserves to be the favorite here. But Bazooka Bazooka, I think he can compete in this fight if he could get it into the second and third for sure. With just the unknowns about Barbosa getting in the late rounds. I'm trying to see if he's ever seen a third. Well, he's been to decision back in 2021. So yeah, all these fights are ending in the first or the second. So cardio will be the question mark, and for the most part, Bazooka does have a decent cardio. He's been to decision a couple of times with some good names so far. So this was a tricky line to fight. I did favor the power of Barbosa with how often Bazooka does drop his hands and has been dropped, even finished. Emmers is kind of like a fast guy with his hands. I wouldn't necessarily call him a power puncher. So if a guy like Emmers could kind of touch him once and put him out, I don't see why Barbosa can't either. But there's just really a lot of unknowns until he's around for a lot longer, and we see how he looks like in second and third rounds. But I did make him the favorite. I had him around like minus 130, 140 range. And then on the flip side, to match that, Bazooka was around like minus 115 or plus 115, plus 120. Let's see what we got. Oh, 500. Damn, so they really like this spot here. No, I don't agree. This is basically saying that he's going to get the knockout, so we'll see what that prop looks like. Wow. Are people down on Bazooka like that? Wow, so they're really on Barbosa, the hype train. I don't agree. I think Barbosa's chin is definitely in question too, after being knocked out 2 times. Um, Obviously he could catch him. 375. That's probably a play. I can't lie. Or if you think he just finishes him, like if they just get to brawling, he could definitely land first. He has fast hands. Comes from a great camp. He's in there with Aljo and Marab daily. Gonna have them in their corner too. So if he could just keep his hands up, man, I don't see why he can't stay live. I'll definitely be writing this down. But with Barbosa not seeing literally not seeing much of second rounds lately, if not like at all recently. Yeah, 1-1. Got knocked out in second. So 2021 is the last time you've seen a second round. Yeah, I just don't agree with this being this line. I think a lot of people are got some like recency bias and all these knockout wins from Barbosa, which they've been like pretty decent. They're his comp. I'll check their records, but from what I remember from the tape, there were like other Brazilians. Like I think this is the first non-Brazilian he's facing in some time. But yeah, they're all like decent. Like they looked okay, so I could see why those wins are translating over. But no, I think that line is a little too disrespectful to Bazooka. Let's see what the rest of the market looks like and where the line movement was. Yeah, it looks like I mean, regardless, it had to have opened around here for it to get this high. I mean, 250 looked to be the opener. Yeah. No, I mean, I keep saying it. I'm saying it again. You're probably going to turn this podcast off. Confidence not the highest. Bazooka drops his hands and didn't fight that last year. And just overall is not the cleanest defensively. So I get it why Barbosa is a favorite. I do not get why he's minus 500. I do not agree with that. So will write down Bazooka. Cool. It's on the board. Let's go to the next fight. If my list is right, it should be Thiago Moises, Gage Young. Looks like we got some dogs this week, fellas. Josh Hackett up here. It just changed, but they're just talking about Josh Hackett, who's like the man now. I feel like everyone did a 180 on him. Everybody's calling him corny, and um, yeah, just wasn't feeling him. And now he put out a good fight, and everyone's kind of changing their opinion on him. I'm glad I didn't switch up. I thought he's funny, man. Like I said, I like wrestling, so I don't mind that side of it. You just kind of got to do it right, and I think he's doing it right. All right, G Money, Gage Young. I thought he had a different nickname, but I like G Money too. He fought in the Contender Series 2 against Southfield. He lost that fight, but he didn't fight bad, especially for how good Southfield has looked afterwards. He had good pressure, and he fought off takedowns, ended up getting his back taken, and I think in round 2 and in round 3, he was able to fight it off. And I just think really like his lack of volume ended up being his downfall, and I kind of think that was his issue in his debut against Elder too as well. But I ended up finding out that he did train with Elder, so that was kind of like a tough fight. I believe it was on short notice as well. So Elder kind of just they said he like big brothered him. Uh, I guess I think Elder just had a lot more output. Like Young constantly has good pressure, and he'll like back guys up into good bad spots, but he just doesn't let go. Like as soon as he'll get a guy backed up against the cage, a guy will faint, and next thing you know, he's like darting back towards the middle of the cage, and the guy could just circle out and get out of bad spots. So I really want him to definitely let go more when he does use his footwork to get guys in good spots. I think that's his number one fix he should have. I think the corner even mentioned that in that Mearshate fight. So if he could just let his hands go and kind of look how he did on the indie scene, you see like he has like a lot of finishes on his record. Granted, you're facing a lot of poor talent, so they will drop and constantly been put in bad spots and are not feigning to get out of it or just doing much to counter the pressure. But yeah, he just needs to let go more. I think he has fast hands. His wrestling defense seems to be there, and decent power as well. He's built well. Pause, but you know what I mean. He has a good build, so I think he can. I think he has some ceiling. Is where I'm trying to go. I don't know how high it is, but I definitely think he could win a couple fights. He's already won one against Mearshate. That was over in China, so that was good to see him win a road game there. But it's just a volume thing and take advantage of his pressure. The pressure is there. I think he has the other skills to be defensively sound and not get swung or not get dropped and to like get put in bad spots. But offensively, he just needs to turn it up and trust his hands a little more. His kicks did look better against Mearshade, but against Elder, they were non-existent. It actually looked pretty terrible when he did throw them, and he didn't throw many. But it just didn't look like he was really comfortable. He's definitely more of a boxer than he is like a kickboxer. So he's going to have to let his hands go once he gets guys against the cage, and everything else will come together, I think, for him. And I think he has a decent matchup against Moises to show some improvements because Thiago Moises is showing signs of being washed. He's coming off that bad TKO against Jared Gordon where he went out. It wasn't like he got dropped and finished on the mat. He got put out and then ate another one for his troubles and got put completely out. So definitely a make or break spot for him against Gage Young because he should beat him. I kind of expect him to be the favorite. Uh, but before that, Ogden, that fight was not terrible, but it just wasn't a lot of striking from Moises, at least not what you wanted to see after losing the Klein. But he pretty much is just calf kicks, and that's what he's been relying on lately. You see, he won against Smith Ramirez, who was another prospect who just ate calf kicks and couldn't compete anymore. I think he has like other calf kick knockouts. I could be wrong. It's always been like something he does. He's mostly been known for on the striking side. And he's a high level black belt. So ultimately, his game is going to be try to get this to the mat. But outside of that, his striking is exclusively just his calf kicks. So that was the number one thing I did write down with this matchup. We're going to see if Gage Young can check kicks. If he can't, it's going to be probably a short night for him because Moises is just going to go back to him until Gage Young drops. So that'll be one thing I will be looking to see from Gage. Outside of that, I think Gage will be able to fight any type of like wrestling advances Moises throws at him. I don't think Thiago Moises is that strong of a wrestler. His grappling is top tier, but in terms of being like physical and being able to get like single leg, double legs on Gage, I don't think he's going to be able to, which is how athletic Gage is. Unless Gage gets put in some bad spots, I don't think that's really going to be available to him. But if he does, I think it's going to be pretty much he'll end around on top if he does get him down because the jiu-jitsu edge he has there is just too wide. So this is literally coming down if Gage Young can check calf kicks. If he can't, it's going to be over. If he can, I think he could get a knockout here. Just how washed Thiago Moises has looked in that fight against Klein. He ate like a right hand and he had like a delayed effect where his legs just weren't there afterwards. Like he looked fine, but like as soon as it hit him, or like a second after it hit him, like he was just like leaning one way. You could just tell like his equilibrium was knocked off and his legs were gone and he fell down. Ended up surviving, but then ate a body shot in the third round that dropped him. So his durability is definitely a concern. Like I said, he's just coming off the bad knockout to Jared Gordon last year. So I've kind of been in a spot to fade him, but I did make him the favorite around like minus 130 range because I think just the jiu-jitsu gap is very wide. And if he could possibly get it to the ground, it's going to be a clear fight for him. And the calf kicks too. Gage Young, I just don't know if he could check calf kicks. He hasn't really. I know Elder did land some kicks on him, calf kicks on him, but it wasn't enough volume there to really to have an answer on if he can check those consistently, especially with how good Moises can throw them. So I had Moises as a slight favorite. And he's a dog. Okay. Which I expected. Moises is down. So that I guess you're going it's a dog card so far for me for just going off my lines. But I'm down on Moises right now. So I don't even know if I would pull the trigger on this, even though I had him as a slight favorite. I did put down no more than minus 130. So that kind of shows you how I'm feeling. Confidence was like a 5 out of 10. And I just wish we seen more out of Young to really feel comfortable in him getting this number. Like I said, if he can't check a calf kick, that's going to be curtains for him. So maybe this is a better live spot if you kind of see it early that Gage Young is eating those calf kicks over and over. If the market is open to go ahead and place a bet on Moises, maybe you do that. But the durability concerns, I completely get with Young being the favorite here. Let's check out everything else. Yeah, at 115. I wish I could get a better number on that. I'd be more interested. But it looks like that's what the market is looking like. What was the opener? See, open as a favorite. Wow, there's a couple fights in a row, or it looks like this lines are flipping. Yeah, so pretty consistent. Looks like the money moved. I'm trying to find DraftKings. It's usually right next to FanDuel. Okay. Yeah. Damn, man, a lot of these lines. Maybe I'm just not a good bettor, but I mean, yeah, I guess it's close. Plus 114's he's a dog, but yeah. I mean, I think Moises should be the favorite just off the experience and the jiu-jitsu gap. But like I said, I get why he hasn't looked good lately, and the TKO is definitely there for Gage Young. So 275, honestly, isn't bad because he's fast and he throws hard. It's just a matter of him letting his hands go once he's in the spot to actually score it. And with Moises' chin and his durability, overall durability, not looking great lately, I see why a lot of people are taking Young here. And 320, that's FanDuel, isn't it? FanDuel setting traps again. So, yeah, I mean, I like Young by TKO. I can see that. At the same time, Moises by TKO, those leg kick TKOs, if you kind of want to take a lotto shot on him, plus 1400. That's not a bad play either. That might be a little sprinkle. I'm not gonna lie to you, since my main angle is that the leg kick TKOs. But I guess I'm putting a little more emphasis on his jiu-jitsu gap compared to Young. Like I said, he does got to get him there, and I did say that I don't think he can off the wrestling because just Young being younger and Young being younger and be more athletic. Yeah, we'll see. I'll write down just like look at Moises and props, but that'll probably be something I'll pass because I think everybody's down on Moises and the market reflects that. So I'll write down Moises, props, and ML. Check TKO. Wish you could bet calf kick TKO. I'm sure some crazy book has that. Like exact method. I've seen like exact method for subs. I don't think I've really seen them for TKOs. All right, let's keep going. Getting towards. I think that's the first fight on the main card. No Bazooka. So yeah, we are in the main card. So getting towards the end. We got Kyrene Silva versus Jasmine Jasdavicius. I feel like I always have to say Jasmine and Jasdavicius together, or I won't get it right. So let's go over to Kyrene Silva first, who has not looked good lately. She had that sub streak. She was looking kind of like the other Silva to really climb the ranks. Her and what's the other Silva's name? Always names. I don't know if you guys are here last week, but names and me, they do not agree. But there's the other Silva that should be fighting for the title soon. I believe it's Natalie Silva. So yeah, they were like both coming up at the same time, and she was like the grappler, and the other one was a striker. She was Kyrie Silva was basically on this sub streak. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 6 in a row, possibly 7. I didn't see the fight before that. And she started running into real comp, and it just did not look good. She's been gassing. I did note, I think in that De Silva fight that she kind of gassed, but ended up pulling it out anyways. My audio cut out. Sorry, guys. I think my audio cut out. Okay, cool. Looks like I'm back. Sorry, guys. I think my audio cut out. At least it cut out my headphones. So I want to make sure I was good. But yeah, where I'm getting to is she ran into legit comp, and not only did she drop some losses, but she just looked really bad. Where she kind of like gassed and played jujitsu on her back. I think it was that Barbosa fight. A lot of people thought she lost that one, And then, yeah, she has the two losses around that. So she could easily be on a 3-fight losing streak right now. From what I remember for that Barbosa fight, she was landing elbows off her back, and that kind of won her the fight. So she got a gift from the judges there. But no, I mean, she just kind of looks way too comfortable playing jujitsu for the point where like she'll accept taking she'll accept going on her back, and that's not a good sign going up against Jazz Devicius, who is a hard nosed wrestler and is going to be able to take her down. And off that alone, you go Jazz Devicius because you know her game. She is coming off that loss against Fariat, which she got knocked out, which I did bet Fariat in that fight because I don't think Jazz Devicius has much striking, like none at all. But if the matchup calls for her to get the takedowns, sorry, my audio cut out again. I think I'm good though. All right, sorry guys, this breakdown's everywhere, but yeah, the matchup calls for her to get takedowns. She's gonna get them, and I didn't spend too much time analyzing this fight for that reason alone. And I made Jazz Dishes probably the clearest favorite on the card, like around minus 300. Uh, I'm just all the way out on Kyrene Silva. She'll be sub or bust, and I don't think it's gonna happen. I think she's gonna take it down and just held there. So I had minus 300 on Jazz Vidicius. Yeah, right on the nose. Right on the nose, minus 290. I'm sure she's minus 300 everywhere else. 150 decision. That's where I was going. What's 1.5? 500. So you can't even really get a good price on Jazz Vidicius over 1.5. You're pretty much forced to play the decision. Kyrene Silva sub 625. Going to be a grappling matchup, so you never know. Jazz Vidicius by ground and pound plus 1100. But yeah, to be honest, I would not mind putting Jazz Vidicius in a parlay. So we will finish the card and maybe see where we can get her at. Her and somebody else at. All right. Yeah, audio was cutting in and out for that one, so it was a fairly easy breakdown. I'm fading Kyrene Silva no matter what, or at least against a wrestler. All these damn ads. All right, 3 fights left. Mandel Nalo, aka is it Rat Garbage? I don't remember. Like I said, I didn't watch too much Bellator. I know he came from there. Let's go check him out. I got it in my notes. I'm pretty sure it's Rat Garbage. Whatever the fuck that means. Yeah, he did change his name Mango. If you're Rat Garbage once, you're Rat Garbage forever. You don't change that. So this breakdown would be fairly easy too. I did like his contender series, and for him being older, 36, he doesn't look it. Like this dude's in shape, man. Like Black does not crack, and he's ripped. Like, and he's long, he's lanky, he's fast, has some strength to him. Has never been to a decision, so expecting that prop to be juiced. And yeah, he had the Bellator run, kind of up and down. Uh, from what I've read, it's very hard to find Bellator fights. And like I said, I spent a lot of my years partying during these like prime Bellator years. But yeah, from what I read, like if fights got hard, then kind of like he kind of faded. But if he was kind of like a front runner, he was doing well. That makes sense when a guy of his reach and his size and being able to kind of like use his athleticism as as his main strength. But I'll be honest, I don't know too much about him. I couldn't find too much Bellator footage from what I did find. That did seem to be the case from what I said, like what I just read about him being more of a front runner. But That's me trusting somebody else's opinion on him. So that's something I'm not gonna weigh too heavily. And yeah, I mean, he seems to be well rounded. He looks great, good speed, good power. But I don't know. I don't know too much about him to really have confidence in him. I do know about Jai Herbert, obviously, who's been in UFC for a couple years now, and this is mostly like a boxer. I know in that fight, a recent fight against Ziam, I believe it was against, he tried to wrestle and ended up landing like 7 strikes. So hopefully he doesn't come in with a game plan like that. He boxed up Bedoya for 15 minutes straight, stayed on the outside and just popped him every time he came in. And then he had that weird fight against Taco Padilla, where I guess a lot of Padilla fights is going to be strange because he just went to a draw last weekend. But pretty much what Padilla just worked his clinch game and landed some elbows that made some rounds pretty close because Herbert was able to do some regular like boxing things against him and land, but the volume was another concern as well in that fight as it was against Ziam. And yeah, so it's kind of like it seems like it's going to be a fight between two strikers. But me not knowing a lot about Rat Garbage, I really couldn't confidently line this fight, and not being able to find much footage on him from the prime Bellator years, I didn't really feel confident in lining this fights. But uh, from what I did see in the Contender Series, he landed like that short right hand. I'm talking about Amanda Nallo here. He landed like that short right hand that put his opponent out, some Brazilian guy, and it was like a very short punch. Like he kind of just like slept, crept it in there, and knocked him out and put him out like not even like a knockdown where he kind of got caught off guard. He was out off like a little short right hand, and like I said, he looks great. So I think this is going to be a car crash. I'll be looking at unders here, but in terms of a line, I didn't really lean anyway. So I guess you could say I'm like more toward like a pick 'em, but I don't know. I kind of expected Nalo to be the favorite because I think he just has a lot more. Um, what do you say? Like just a lot more momentum right now compared to Herbert, who could who has really had not poor showings in those last 3, but just not the best. He just hasn't really looked more like as he did like in his prime, and he is getting older. He's 37 now, so this is more than a winnable matchup for Nalo if he does have a great ceiling, which maybe not. He's older too. I think he should have been signed in the UFC. I don't even know why he went to the Contender Series, but we'll see what the line is. 170. So yeah, that's what I thought. I thought he would, even though I lined it like close to pick him, I thought he would be the favorite just off momentum alone. Yeah, Nello never been to the scorecards. So minus 155 on under 2.5. I expect this to be a pretty a strikers match unless Herbert doesn't bring it. But I think Nalo's not gonna let him. Like I think Nalo's coming in here to swing and make a name for himself pretty quickly because he doesn't have time on his side. And knowing his history of never been to going into scorecards, I guess you could really play that under 2.5. So we'll look to see if we could get it something more better. $140 looks to be the best. These are books I don't usually use. I try to stay mainstream with my books. So MGM's not listed. I'll go check them out. But minus 155, maybe the best price. Okay, and FanDuel's not listed. Let's go see what they got. It's not the best price, but like I said, I just think it's the only way to honestly play this. All right, so FanDuel's minus 156. So same. I'll see on fight day. This is definitely a fight to wait to fight day to see where the market goes. But as of right now, Nalo by TKO, or just go ahead and play the under, which just seems like to be a safe bet. All right, call main event. Charles Jourdain, Air Jourdain versus Kyler Phillips. This is going to be similar to the Kyrene Silva breakdown where I'm kind of just out on Kyler Phillips, mostly because he gasses. Like he has a lot of movement in the first. He has a lot of movement in general with his stance. So once that is his, once that's zipped, like once he's kind of in a state where that movement stops and his wrestling pressure and didn't work out like how it was supposed to be, he gasses, and that's not really. I guess I mean you could get it in better shape, but how much better shape can you get? Making what is this 135? So yeah, once you're a gasser, once in my book, you're always a gasser. And once he reaches like that 1.5 mark, he's not the same guy. If he gets the takedowns and could kind of chill out there and save energy that way, that is one thing. But against Rob Font, it was the same. It was the same script of, or not the same script, but it was the script of him getting a takedown round one. Font made him work, came back in round two and won the next 2 rounds because he didn't have anything left. I meant to say the same script for the Oliveira fight where he got the takedowns in round one and then pretty much just got outstruck in 2 and 3, but mostly because he just wasn't throwing. He was gassed. Like he would only be able to land or throw one shot at a time and not really put together combos or go for takedowns and chain things together. So yeah, he's just kind of like one of those fighters where I'm all the way out on. I did bet him against Font. I think I parlayed him because he was a big favorite. And then I faded him against Oliveira, which I'm pretty sure was like close odds. Yeah. Oliveira was a favorite. I think that was like more of a pick 'em through the week though, from what I remember. So I'm out on him, just like Kyron Silva. You gas, you're done in my book. And mostly because Jourdain has better cardio, and on top of that, he has a grappling to make him really work. So if there's a situation in that first round where he does get the takedowns and kind of like in the last 2 fights where he does get the takedowns, but Jourdain does enough to make him work, then he's guaranteed to be gassed in that second round. And with Jourdain being well rounded with his striking and the grappling, I definitely think that this could be like a similar script to them last 2 fights where Jourdain could take over in the second and third and be the better fighter for sure. So for that reason alone, I did make him the favorite. I will say he's been throwing like that flying knee. He's kind of been in love with that lately. That shouldn't be in the arsenal this week. It's going to allow Phillips to get the takedowns on him and without really working. If he were to just like get on the inside and just use momentum to go back or drive him backwards. So I think he should scrap that and just stick to kickboxing. And I think he could definitely win this fight. He also has a good guillotine. As you see, he put it out against Grant and Henry in his last 2 fights. But the one with Henry, he got the guillotine after getting taken down. So the Phillips wrestling path is open. He's been taken down before. I believe against Wood, he gave up a lot of takedowns. Against Burgos, he gave up a lot of takedowns. So the path is there. But with him going back to 135, I think it does him a lot of favors with the wrestling and the grappling. And I think he should be the favorite at home here. I lined it minus 150 range. So I'm around there. I think Jordan should be around that mark. But I mean, you never know. Kyler Phillips could improve somehow with the grappling, and like I said, the wrestling path is open. So I was interested to see this line too, but I did have Jordan the favorite, and minus 150. So pretty much hit that one right on the head. Props by decision. I like that number 170 on decision. 575 sub is interesting, but I think Phillips kind of avoids that. He trains with O'Malley and them at a decent camp down in Arizona. So I think he'll be ready for the guillotine. They kind of know that's Jordan's go-to submission move. So yeah, with it being my line kind of right on the head. Yeah, I had Henry 130. So like literally right, or Phillips 130. So I had that right on the head. I will most likely be passing this because there's just not a lot of value anywhere for me unless I dive deeper into the prop market and see something. Or I don't mind Jordan decision 170. So if you get 200 on that, let us check. One ninety is the best, and then 185 on the mainstream markets. Not bad. Nothing that blows me away though. So I would probably skip this. All right, main event. I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off because I kind of knew where this line was. I seen it opened and I seen it, you know, before fight weeks when this kind of like the card was announced or the main event was announced, and kind of figured out my lot would be the favorite against Gilbert Burns, which is kind of like where Gilbert's at. You're pretty much playing the washed or not game, and it's a tough read only because Burns has been facing killers. So you kind of just wonder like what really is left. He's been getting finished, which is something that we never seen with Burns. This is we're talking about um, Michael Morales here, JDM, who, as everybody knows, or anybody that's tapped in with the sport, that Burns was winning that fight in the cards before that. Also, JDM had a broken arm in that fight, so that's another thing to consider. Maybe JDM wasn't down on the cards if that didn't happen. But yeah, man, losing to killers, it's just a rough bookings right here. Lost to Sean Brady by decision, where Brady pretty much just did what Brady does with the wrestling. So it's just kind of hard to really know where a guy's at because of the booking. We know the age and we know how this goes. You never, maybe you're Cub Swanson, you go out with a knockout, but when you're getting this continuous booking against guys like these number one contenders here, just what do you do? Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't remember how the Bilal Muhammad fight was. I think it was pretty much the same thing with the wrestling too, kind of like with the Brady. But um, yeah, it's just kind of hard to get a good read on where Burns is at because in his prime he was a man, durable as they come, and top level grappling, and just could pretty much just do it all, man. So yeah, it's just a tough read. It's kind of hard to see him going out like this too, but he kind of gets a step back with my lot, even though it's like a home game from a lot, and he's up and comer, way younger. I just haven't really been too impressed with him lately. He did have that slip up against Magny where he was winning the fight the entire time and pretty much gassed. But Giles, that was low volume. That fight sucked. It honestly could have went either way. Ratke, he did finish, but I don't know. I think Ratke pretty much just started brawling and didn't have any type of game plan and got finished. And the Kevin Holland, we remember he nut kicked him like 5 times. Went over that last week. Yeah, I just haven't been impressed since the Magny, mostly with his striking. He did stay up on the feet with Holland, so he got some good minutes there striking with him. But Holland's not like this, like a boxer, kickboxer at all. I mean, he'll take advantage of it if the matchup calls for it. And he did beat Randy Brown on the feet pretty much for the most part last week. But if you got more like technique and more like simple punches, you could beat Holland, and that's what Mylot has. He did get to his wrestling at the end of those rounds as well, so he used that to bank, I believe, like the last two, and then yeah, it'll be interesting to see his game plan against Burns. I think he is going to try to stand and strike because at this point he probably is faster than Burns, most likely packs more power, but I just don't rate his striking too high as of now to really think that he's gonna like be like head and shoulders above Burns, even with Burns at this level or at this point in his career. Me not liking both, I knew my lot was gonna be the favorite. So like I said, I kind of already knew where the slide was going, and that makes sense to 320. I was mostly interested in the overs in this fight, and I see over 2.5 is plus money, so that instantly gets my attention. I think my lot, knowing this is 5 rounds, we often see these guys that they get 5-round fights and are somewhat interested in going late, especially if it's in a fight with a vulnerable opponent and, they don't really feel like a power is coming from them on the other side, or if you don't have like some guy that's like really dangerous, you could kind of stall things out, and especially when you got like wrestling in your favor too as well. If you have that in your back pocket, it's not exactly the worst thing for a fight to go longer if you know you could get to that anytime. So with him having bigger dreams and higher places to go, and wanting to fight for titles, which should be fairly soon with him being 34. This could be a good spot to get some minutes in a 5-round fight. At least go 3 rounds with like a good jujitsu guy like Burns, or even on the feet where he could kind of have advantage. And Burns kind of shows you that he does have some durability left. So I do like the over 2.5 at plus money. What's 1.5 at 200? It's a decent parlay piece. You could go like that, maybe Jazdicious for a parlay and see what that gets you if you want to go like a chalk parlay. But I don't mind the 2.5 plus 100, so I'll write that down. And it's not like my lot is like this dangerous guy in the feet. All of his striking has pretty much been used as like a point to get up on the cards and get up on the stats and end up winning by decision. So it's not like he's this TKO guy. Burns has to have some fire in him still to keep getting in here and, at least push this guy and not go out sad again. So I think over 2.5 is really the only play at these lines, because you're not going to trust Burns to win a 5-round fight against anyone serviceable. I don't think so. Not no more. And then on my lot, I just kind of just down on him. So I don't really like the 320 number here either. So yeah, 2.5. And let's look at the props. I didn't look at them. Decision 550. Wow, so they favor TKO. That says more about Burns than my lot, I think. Decision 550. That's kind of nice. But yeah, I'll take over 2.5. I don't mind that bet at all. Where is the market at? All right, I think I'm frozen here. All right, since we're getting towards the end, I'm going to try to look for these WrestleMania props, if I can get them. You always got to go deep into the dark web to get these lines. I think it's on BetUS, because I placed some last year. First UFC wrestler to compete in a match. Hold on, let's look at this real quick. Max Holloway plus 200. That's funny. All right, hold on. Let's go back. Let's finish our thoughts here. Over. Okay, so 120. You get that on Bet Online. But everywhere else looks to be the same. Even money. Yeah, I like that. The wrestling alone, if Malat doesn't feel any pressure from Gilbert, he's going to be shooting. And, Gilbert has a sub game too, so that'd be dangerous. But I think Malat is good enough jujitsu, at least defensively, to stay out of dangerous spots and kind of just bank rounds. And like I said, with him being a guy that clearly wants to fight for the belt soon or one day, he could be looking to polish Burns and put him away. But I think 5-round experience is kind of seem like it'd be some that's important to him. So I don't think he necessarily goes to 5 rounds, but I think he'll probably want to go late. And that's a intangible. That's something I don't know. That's in his mind. But I'm just getting that vibe. And on top of that, I think the flow of the fight definitely calls for it to go late with my lot, just not being as dangerous as these lines are saying, with him being favored to get the TKO minus 120. Uh, nah, that just says a lot more about Burns than my lot to me. So I think Burns kind of, I don't think he's going to give you a you must have forgot performance, but I think he, at least staying like durable and lasting late would be a win for him. So over 2.5 was what I got right down. Cool. That completes the card. We'll go over that. Yeah, let's just do that before we get to wrestling. So quick recap, and I'm gonna wait till weigh-ins. I will probably place the well, let's just go over it, and I'll let you know if I'm gonna place something, and I'll post it on Twitter too. So follow at MMA Me's for that. Siraj Yanis, I the sub. Siraj by sub was plus 200 somewhere. If it's not plus 200 here, I think it was plus 200 on FanDuel. That's he can. This is game. Like half his wins are by sub, if not their decision by control time. So Giannis just got rear naked choked, and yeah, I mean that's the path for Siraj. So I don't get the plus 200 line there. I'll probably sprinkle on that, but we'll see how the betting card comes together. Castaneda vlogged in, took plus money. This was the bet that I was going to take. I don't have it written down. Yeah, vlogged in plus money. The best price we got, I believe, was 110. We'll look it up later. Yeah, Castaneda is just he's good. He's just not great anywhere. Well, I think vlogged in ceiling with his striking and his well roundedness with the Sambo background, and it can definitely be live in this fight. So I think definitely he should be a decent dog play at plus 110. So that'll be the one I'll lock in. And let me check that one since I'm telling you I'm locking it in. I think it's on DraftKings. I have all these tabs open. Let's just refresh this. All right, cool. We'll have a little fun with this, and then I'll check out the WrestleMania odds. Our computer slow mo today. Yeah, 110. DraftKings. So yeah, lock that in because I think we're going to see some movement, and then yeah. Well, I was thinking of how many units I should do. I'll probably do 2 units. I'm not gonna lie. I like to play at plus money. I think I had him as a favorite. I had him as a decent favorite, but confidence wasn't the highest on that number. But I still think he should be the favorite. So I'll definitely be locking that in. JJ Aldrich, Horth. This was another dog play for me. Aldrich, I just don't really like Horth's striking. I think it's being overrated from her last 2 fights, and Aldrich does have some takedown defense, or at least has been um, decent enough to fight off Horth, who isn't the strongest wrestler. Usually just uses her big body to get girls to the ground. So I like Aldrich plus 152, but I'll wait. I'm not really in love with that either. Raposo, Nascimento by sub plus 220, which was probably on FanDuel too. No, I was here. Okay. That's his game. All his wins are by sub for the most part. And Raposo is makes a lot of mistakes. So if Raposo does start getting on the inside, I do think Nascimento could get him down. And with Nascimento being the favorite, I don't see why the sub is where it's at. He's not going to win with his striking. So I guess Raposo is a decent dog play as well, if you agree with that. But Nascimento by sub, which is how much bigger he's going to be, is definitely going to be a play as well. But I'll look for a better line. I'll wait on that one too. I think the only thing we're going to enter in on right now is vlogged in at that plus money. Kroden, Zelnikova. I like Zelnikova. Highlight. Oh, wow. It moved while we were going over. It was minus 135. It's minus 140 now. So that sucks. Damn. I mean, it's 5 cents, but I'm cheap. So That is not ideal. I will see. Maybe just take her as a winner. Take her by decision. Let's see what it is at. 220. Yeah, that's not bad. 220 is not bad. We'll see. That sucks. It's 5 cents, but it's still not bad. So maybe like a unit there, but I'm not too thrilled about it. I guess I'm just mad over the line movement as I usually am. But dog or pass for sure, because I had Croden as a slight favorite, but not 160. No, not close to that. It was like more near pick'em with how often she could get hit and how stiff she is. So I'll definitely do dog or pass there. Heavyweights, no. LeBlanc, another good dog play. I went back on everything I was saying about not placing bets right now, or at least saying I was only doing that one because LeBlanc at plus 150 was a good play. I believe that was DraftKings as well. I'll most likely lock that in. Bazookia Barbosa. Bazookia, another dog, but probably just like a half unit and not really rushed to enter in on this either. So we'll see there. Thiago Moises, Gage Young. What did I write down for that one? Oh, Moises TKO because of the calf kicks. It was like some crazy number. Just haven't seen enough on Young to really think he should get this line, but I do agree with him. Well, I had Moises as a slight favorite, but I was really low confidence on it. But I just don't think we've seen enough out of Young to really think he should be this much of a favor against Moises. Uh, Jasmine Jasvidicia's parlay piece of the week. We'll probably be parlaying her with something. This was a fight. It was a skip. Nalo Herbert. Haven't seen much on Nalo, and then Jai Herbert. Recent results haven't been too great, so I see why Nalo's a favorite. One's trending up, one's trending down, but this should be a car crash no matter what. So I did like that under 2.5. Phillips Jourdain, like I said, I'm out in Phillips, so maybe we're doing a Jourdain Jasvidicius parlay, Canadian parlay. But like I said, Jourdain can be taken down. There's a path for Phillips. Jourdain has a grappling to make him work, which should lead to Phillips gassing like he has been lately. So we'll entertain Jourdain in some fashion. But my line was kind of straight on. I had him at minus 150, and that's exactly what we had. And in the main event, we just covered over 2.5. Scroll back like a minute or two, and check that out. But over 2.5. All right, WrestleMania. This is the part where you turn it off because I know everybody hates wrestling that likes MMA. There's a special bond between my wrestler MMA community. There's only a couple elite of us. This is kind of fun though. First UFC wrestler to compete in a WWE match. Cormier. They don't have it lined up. It looks like Volk is the favorite. That's interesting. I wonder why they think that. Plus 150. And that's like decent odds. That's like a good percentage. At least for like him competing in like the context of it, like what they're asking, that's decent. So that's interesting. Chandler 200. He's been on Raw a couple times. I don't know why he has worse odds than Volk. Anderson Silva. I wish you could bet no on that. I'll throw the house on it. I guess you kind of got to wait. So one of these guys like pass away because you'll never know if they'll compete in it till they like die. So that's kind of morbid. So maybe I shouldn't even said that. Oh well. Anyways, this is not what we're here for. We're looking for WrestleMania odds. So let's just go on order they come. Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton. Wow, so Orton's a favorite. This build has kind of sucked. They brought in Pat McAfee, who everybody has hated that decision too. Rhodes and Orton kind of already had a story, so it was kind of weird that they brought in McAfee. There was a rumors that the higher ups called for it. I know there was like beef between CM Punk and I think Cody Rhodes even mentioned it about the TKO group kind of taking over and butting in when they shouldn't. But Rhodes is a champion. He'll be facing Orton. This is the main event of night one. Usually, you don't see heels winning in the main event, especially with how much the fans have been hating on the Orton McAfee thing. So that's kind of interesting. I think plus money on Rhodes isn't bad. I would take plus money. I think you could only bet these fights for like $5. I don't even think it's worth logging in to do, but we'll see. So I could get the screenshot and get some content on the page. Uh, I'll take plus money on Rhodes there. Disclaimer: even if you can get more money on this, don't do it. Usually, this is all chalk. Sorry about that. I had some issues. Basically, what I'm saying is, what I was saying. I don't remember when I cut off, but these are fun little bets. I think you can only get $5 on them anyways, but usually the chalk wins. So don't take these uh, out of proportion and try to bet houses on plus money because I'm giving it out. Vakor, Liv Morgan. I don't know. I didn't really keep up with this feud, so I'll skip that. Becky Lynch, AJ Lee, same thing. I think Becky wins just to get AJ Lee home because she's part timer. So probably Becky. Fatu, McIntyre, Fatu for sure, just because they want to keep pushing him. That would be like a max bet for me if I could, because it's just one of those things. Like it just doesn't make sense for him to lose as a babyface and then at WrestleMania. So that would be a max. Gunther, Rollins, probably same thing here with Gunther. I would imagine maybe this is kind of like a weird finish, like a DQ to keep them both strong. But Gunther has had a crazy year. I don't think it makes sense for him to lose at WrestleMania. Women's tag match. Nah. This is a fun one. Usos LA Knight versus Division. I Show Speed. I think definitely Division, I Show Speed are the value picks right here. 225. It's going to be fun to see Speed in there. I know a lot of people are hating on that too. They don't like celebrities at WrestleMania no more, but it used to be a thing. I'll take them. And there to keep Division, who has had like a rough year, I think it's important for them to get a WrestleMania win to keep them strong, or at least get them strong. So I'll take them in that for sure at 225 over Usos and LA Knight, who don't necessarily need a win. All right, cool. So we have some props here too. I'll look at, and especially for this one, Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. Roman Reigns is a heavy favorite, and I agree. I've never been a Punk fan, just from like a fan standpoint. I never understood him, really. I think he's too small, and now he's old and small. So yeah, never been a fan. And I think Roman is just really back to go ahead and take over again. And did a couple movies, but I don't know if he has anything planned. And I just don't think he's as big as a star as like The Rock. I mean, not at his level, but like to possibly get into that. I don't think his ceiling is that high or even close to even like a John Cena or even a Batista. I don't see the movies working out for him. So yeah, I think he beats Punk, and then he'll take over as champ for a while. And then first finishing move performed. We cashed on this last year. The spear. The spear is so easy to hit. It could come out of nowhere. And it's not even really like his finisher. So I don't know why they always put that over like somebody else's like actual finisher. He does like the Superman punch, but I guess he does do both. And I guess the spear, now that I think about it, spear is more of his finisher, but it's just so easier to hit than a GTS. So that's definitely would be a play. All these other ones are going too deep for me, so I'm cool on that. So yeah, I'll take Roman, Division, Speed, plus money, Skip, Gunther, Fatu, just lock of the night. Lock of the night at 700. Add it to your parlays. Becky Lynch, Skip, the Morgan fight. Cody Rhodes plus money. Yeah, and I think there's a ladder match. I don't see the odds though. Okay, yeah, here it is. Ladder match. Penta's a favorite. Javon Evans minus 125. I'll take that. He's had a really good year. I think the crowd will go crazy if he wins, and it's a good way to take the belt off Penta without actually beating him. So I'll take Javon Evans there at minus 125 for sure. Oh yeah. Oh, there's a couple other I almost called them fights, but you know what I mean. There's a couple other ones. Trick Williams, Sami Zayn. I haven't been paying attention to that one. I don't think it makes sense for Sami Zayn to win, so I'll take Trick at -120. Obafemi's a favorite. Oh, I think. I mean, if Vince McMahon was still in charge, Lesnar's definitely winning. I think Lesnar could definitely. I would take +180 for sure. And don't think of me like talking about this from, oh, can he hit his move and win? No, I'm just trying to think like who they would want to win and how they would book it like for future bookings. And I think Lesnar winning would kind of be like a good surprise if he kind of just like squeaked by. Everybody would hate it, but if Femi could just like dominate him and then somehow get like upset at the end, um, I think that'd be a good way to start WrestleMania because they are kicking off the first night. So I think that'd be a good way to piss everybody off and shock them. And Ripley Cargill, I haven't been paying attention to that. I know that's a big women's fight, but yeah, Ripley probably wins. I think Cargill has the belt right now. I haven't been paying attention to really be confident. And Mysterio Balor, nah, I don't care about that. Probably Mysterio, 300 would be the value there. All right, cool. Well, that's everything for today. This has already been very long. I don't see a timer anywhere, but yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead. Yeah, 2 hours. Damn. All right, cool. I'll wrap up there. Appreciate you guys checking me out. If you made it this far, let me know what you like, don't like. Like I said, this is a work in progress. This was just episode 1, technically 2, but still figuring it out. And yeah, I'm gonna post the bets to the Twitter page. A couple today, probably tomorrow, and maybe after weigh-ins. But I think I'm going to post 2 or 3 today, and then the rest will either come on after weigh-ins Friday or on Fight Day Saturday. So check me out there. I'll put the link in the bio, but it's just at MMAMEEZ Mees. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week.